Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. Hey, before I introduce the guests, I just want to say and give out a huge, huge thank you to Emergo Academy. That's Emergo, Emergo Academy. These guys are all about the brain first approach. This was my number one reason for being trained as a crisis and recovery coach because I loved everything about the brain first approach. Even when my past wife was battling through her demons and her addiction, I wished I would have known a way that I could have helped her actually get into her own head because I definitely feel, at least my version, is that addiction and other traumas in our life, especially with the addiction, it's not the substance, it's just the band-aid. We are suffering from something within, and all we want to do is we just want to have it disappear. So that is what's so cool about Emergo Academy. And also, there's going to be a guest on today that will be talking a little bit about some other training, and actually a training that I have been doing recently. But guys, get a hold of Dave and Susan Kenny at emergoacademy.com. Check out their website. Guys, even if you're not interested in becoming a crisis and recovery coach, however, if you are interested in changing your life and the way that you see things and the way that you can figure out how to figure out the old maps that are running around in your head and actually change those maps, I would highly, highly recommend you guys checking these guys out. Again, Emergo Academy. That's Emergo Academy.com. Man, I am looking forward to this show today. I had the honor and the pleasure to meet Austin Kiser at our Healing Utah Success Summit back in October. And him and his lovely wife, Mikkel, got up and just did an amazing, amazing talk. And I got to know Mikkel and her dad, Lamont, a year ago at one of our other events. And I was just so impressed with the way these guys, how they've educated themselves with understanding. We're going back to the brain thing, right? And other things. And Austin has kind of branched out to go into a different area, which that's one reason why I really wanted to have him on the show. And you guys will find out because today's topic is why suicide thoughts exist and why we remain stuck. So, Austin, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, especially the day after Thanksgiving, to spend it with me. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's an honor. Like you've done so much for the community around here, man. I am, yeah, this is so easy to say yes to. I want to try to support you and put more jet fuel in your vehicle, because man, if I can hype you up and help support you in any way, like you know the phrasing, right? Like when we link arms, we can touch more lives, we can reach more people. So yes, you're definitely an individual where if I link arms with you, you're like a group of 100 people with how much of an impact and influence you have on other people's lives. So
Uh,
absolutely, this is awesome, Al. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. I greatly appreciate it. You and I had a phone conversation. I don't know, it's been maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. I can't keep, I'm not able, I don't want to use that word can't because our brain doesn't recognize it. But let's see.
That's right.
I lose track of time pretty easy. So, I think we ended up being on the phone for like about 45 minutes is because we
We
just
did.
started into some serious conversations. And I probably could have been on the phone with you for another 45, if not longer.
Yeah.
You shared something again that, talking about suicide. And with us coming around the holidays right now, the message that you have that you can help put out on this show, I think is very, well, I don't think, I know it's very important. And I'm really hoping that it touches somebody, even if it's just one person, right? Because one person, the ripple effect could just go so much further. You know,
Absolutely.
what what drove you to your passion of wanting to help those with, suicide ideation? Hopefully I said that right. And
Yeah, yeah.
just so many people we're losing so many good people, and especially for men. I mean, suicide rate has just skyrocketed between the age, I think, 18 and 55 or 60 now.
Yeah, definitely.
What got you into all this and wanting you to help
Yeah.
others?
Thanks. This is a question that I would spend a week of just if I had food and water for a week, I could just keep going on this answering this question. because I've learned so much on the journey that I just, every fiber in my body wants to just share it and express it, because I feel like even if there's a single golden nugget out there that could really sink into somebody's core, I want that for them, right? Yes. So a huge one for me, Al, is the biggest one is when I have an older brother. His name is Devin Kiser. He passed away in 2023, and it's been 2 years and some change. And he passed away in October 23rd. And it's very interesting. Thanksgiving was really the main like gathering time. So it's very convenient that we're talking about suicide on Thanksgiving, because I remember when I saw, his celebration of life photo on the fridge, and I was like, whoa, he's not going to be here. And this is like the emotions. I have worked through a ton and I've understood a ton. I've applied a lot of the concepts to the program you're talking about. And I constantly am going through a roller coaster of emotion, purposefully, though, because if you can understand the leverage that those emotions have, then you can absolutely bring in whatever change you want in your life, right? So, to answer your question simply, my brother passed away by suicide, and everything in my life changed. I felt the gravity absolutely like put pound for pound on my shoulders, and it dropped me to my knees. I felt it was almost like the world stopped rotating. The atmospheric pressure was heavy, it was dense. Um, any single comment, it just went through me. It didn't really stick. Nothing. I was numb, and something that stood out to me when I got the phone call and my brother said, "Hey, this is serious," and I'm like, "Well, I'm actually close by. Should I come over?" He goes, "Yeah, come over." So I came over, and when my other older brother, he just said, "Devin took his life last night." That moment, it was really insane, Al, because in that moment, I went super hyper focused, and I just started like my body was shaking because I was like, whoa, I our family jokes a lot, but this is definitely not one of those moments that would be a funny joke, right? So I was like, that means it's real. And I was trying to my brain, I realized I was trying to find all of these different avenues on how that couldn't be true. And everything kept pointing back of like, well, hold on, like settle down. That was just said out loud. Don't disassociate, be here, be present, put your feet right where you're sitting. And it did not take me long, Al, to be able to immediately hold myself and start looking outward and trying to support those around me. And that was probably the biggest moment when I realized I made a massive shift in my life, because I processed it at hyper speed, and I valued it so much that I immediately started understanding that if I was to look outward, after I handled my inward in that moment, then I would be able to gain a lot of purpose from this. It was absolutely powerful. So a big part of that is just the language that I learned. I understand the language of how my brain is functioning because of the neurology behind it that we talk about. And when we can dive into that understanding, then we can actually take these superficial concepts that exist and turn them into identity level changes, something that actually gets to a root instead of chasing symptoms over and over and over. And I learned that language through the program we're talking about, and I applied it so deeply that that transition, it happened really quickly for me. And I didn't just cope through it. I didn't find a coping mechanism. I didn't power through. I didn't just try harder. Like those are not the strategies that the society just puts down our throat. Like I did not use those. I used internal guidance. I used self-discovery. I used empowerment. Like I went into me and I didn't have really any focus on this external world to try to help me feel how I want to internally. And that sparked everything because I believe, okay, this is my belief. I'm not sitting here, I'm not going to get sued by any of this. Okay, this is my belief. All mental struggles, every single one, name it, doesn't matter. That one too. Everything is because of an external reliance. Everything. And when we can start identifying it and defining it as an external reliance, then we understand that we are not broken. We understand that it is just a pattern playing out and that we have total control. We're totally okay. So I could keep going, but
I
this is a
well,
podcast.
I love that you went to that direction, right? Because the internal guidance, and I'm going to be vulnerable here as well. For about the last probably 3 weeks, the past 3 weeks, well, I can't say past 3 weeks because the last week has actually been a lot better. But I did suffer for about 3 weeks, some things going on in my life. And I was really getting in my head, right? You heard me talk about maps earlier at the beginning of the show, and I know you know a lot about it because that's exactly what you're talking about. All these
Meaning,
old maps started coming up, right? All
yeah,
these old programs started coming up. And I've come to understand through my training through Emergo and also the training that you and I have been talking about a little bit here about our subconscious mind is there to store data and tell us stories. But one thing that I did not know and that I have learned to question those stories. And when we question it, our brain actually searches for the answer.
exactly.
Because all my life I've said, stop thinking this, stop thinking this. You got to stop thinking this. Well, it's not going to stop thinking of like if I tell you to not think of a pink elephant, you're going to think of a pink elephant.
Yeah.
So I really had to spend some time and I took off. I went for a trip to Idaho. And when you're driving by yourself 4 hours up and 4 hours back, you have all this time on your hands. And I took a lot of time not even listening to the radio or nothing, just to get deep in my thoughts and start asking myself questions. It's like, where is this coming from? Why is this happening? And it's crazy because, and I know you know this, when we're not in a free state of mind, we're continuously confused, right?
Yep.
The wrong patterns, the wrong stuff starts coming
Yeah.
up. When we get into that free state and we ask our questions and then we release it and just allow it to surface, it's amazing what comes forth and amazing what you find out. And I
Absolutely.
started realizing a lot of the stuff I was dealing with went all the way back from my childhood.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I just as soon as I said that, I got goosebumps because I was
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, why has it taken me this long to figure this out? But again, we talked about how the outside world, how it tells us how we're supposed to respond,
Yep.
right? Or not respond. This is
Yeah,
how you're supposed to do it. We're programmed totally wrong, from the outside world.
exactly. And
And
so Al, yes. So it's what you're talking about is neurogenesis.
yes,
And from a fetus inside the womb all the way until the age 3, our brain has developed, don't quote me on the exact percentage, but it's extremely high. I believe it's 85% our brain has developed. Okay. And we're going through the rest of our life with this brain that was 85% developed. And that's a prerequisite, right? Compared to the rest of the life we live. And what do we learn as a child? We learn to rely on the external world in order for us to even survive. So it goes into survival, this idea of relying externally. Our brain understands that if it doesn't, let me give an example. Communication as a child, the only way to communicate is obvious. We cry. And when we cry, we get what we want, right? And if we don't cry, then it's possible that we might die. So the only way we are even still here, the only way that our audience is even listening is because we had a dependence. We were dependent. And if we feel like we can't be dependent on somebody else, then our brain triggers a fight and flight, even freeze response, right? So it is within our, it's within the midbrain, right? It's the same section of addiction. Like all addiction, it shows up in the midbrain. Drinking water is in the midbrain. That is in the survival area of your brain. If you do not drink water, you die. If we do not have an external reliance, we die. Like obviously that's not true, but our brain doesn't know the difference. So when you say something very powerful, you said, don't think of a pink elephant. Your brain, it doesn't freaking hear that word don't. It doesn't hear the word can't. Like you're hitting really hard on it, right? So our maps, the meanings and perceptions that we have playing out in our mind, when we speak those words out loud, our brain, it tells you what our brain is really actually thinking. So when you can apply that, like it is all internal. So yes, understanding the neurogenesis and all the patterns on that road trip you went so deep into, obviously. Yes, it is. It's all there. And the idea behind it, it's not to be able to find fault and point fingers, right? It's to be able to let go and understand everyone's just trying. And it's the empowerment behind it. It's not the pressure from the situation, it's the freedom from it. It's such a different mindset. Like you talked about confined state and free state. The words I like to use is surviving state and thriving state. They rhyme, they're cool. I like those verbiages, right? It's awesome. So the goal in life is to be thriving. And when we thrive, it's because our quality of life is a lot high, it's higher. So that's self-discovery is the purpose to life. That is my clean statement. I can't say it simpler. When we understand ourselves, then we can actually understand the external world. Because as we've heard countless times, everything is a projection of ourself. We only have our reality to base our perception off of because our reality is our perception. And every single person, there's what, 800 billion, 80
Like
billion?
80 billion. I think there's
80
like 80
billion. Yeah,
billion.
80
Yeah.
billion. Yeah. Divided out. Yeah, 80 billion people. So that means there's 80 billion realities on Earth, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy because when I was going through a lot of stuff when my past wife was, battling through her addiction, and I kept everything quiet for a long time. Didn't tell family, didn't tell friends. And finally one day I opened up to a friend, and he's like, you need to share your story. You need to open up. You need to use your voice. And I'm like, well, who the hell wants to hear my pity party? You know?
Yeah.
And he goes, Al, you think you're the only one that's going through this? And it's crazy as we go back to the external, right? We do
Yeah.
feel like we are the only ones out of 80 billion people who are
Yeah.
going through what we're going through. And
Yep.
it's so not true. It is so not true. And I don't want to say unfortunately, because really, I was just speaking with somebody about this about a week ago. It's not unfortunate. It's a blessing, really. And it takes a little bit of time to really start thinking about it and get in our brains to understand it. But when things like this, like you losing a brother due to suicide, you know, I lost a wife, and I know so many
Yeah.
other people who have lost people that they care about due to addiction. And it hits so hard. It hurts us so flipping bad. But when you put it all down to perspective, something good comes out of it. And it's so hard to see it at the time. So hard. However, when we can go internal and we start asking ourselves these questions, I mean, my past wife's addiction and even my own past addiction has led me to put me on this path that I'm on today.
Absolutely.
As hard as it was for you and your family to lose your brother and your parents lose a son, there's a blessing that's come out of it because now you're a voice,
Yeah.
right? To start helping other people to go, hey, look, our grief will never leave us. I've heard people say, oh, grief, you'll get over it after time. My version is we don't ever get over it. It's always there. We may learn how to cope with it a lot better, but
Sure.
our grief is always there. However, we've had to go in internal, right, to figure out
Yeah.
how can I still go on with what I need to go on in my life However,
Yeah.
still feel the loss and the love that I have for the individual that's no longer here that I'm not going to see again for a long time.
Yeah. So here's the difference with how the world uses what you say. And it's yes, I will always be grieving, right? That idea. It's almost like a life sentence, like the handcuffs, the leg weights that you'll never be able to let go of, the weighted vest, like I whatever analogy you want, like the world preaches that. And that's not the issue. The issue is how we are allowing the grief to process through us, right? So that is a very like yes, it might be wordplay, but understanding that fine line is life changing because remembering your loved ones or remembering the struggles that have existed in your past and whatever other subconscious patterns that you'll start learning in the future, those aren't the issues. It's how you're handling them. Your external environment isn't the issue, it's your internal environment. So I bring that up because I have said time and time again that yes, I'm turning Devin's moment into a movement. And that movement, it is picking up a lot of speed. It is gaining tons of momentum and it's awesome. And the momentum that it's bringing in people's life, it's not to sit in sorrow, it's to gain the momentum towards their goals that they want in their life. It is leveraging it in a way that actually brings fulfillment into their life. Because I have said I never want Devin's passing to be not fresh. I always want it to be fresh. I want it to be a clean wound. And people are like, whoa, don't you want to just like move on? And I'm like, well, I don't think there's, I think you're getting confused with the understanding because I have learned how to tap into that gold mine of thriving energy, not surviving energy. And when I tap into it, because I found the cheat code in my life, I do not want to let go of that gold mine. That is way too precious to me. So, yes, there are times when I sit on the edge of my bed and I bring in the emotion of if Devin was to come knock on my door and say, hey, bro, you up? Dude, we got to get the fresh lines, man. The snow's gonna get all patted down. We got to get out of here, like let's get out of here, bro. I'm like, I think of that a ton and I sit on and I'm like, whoa, like he would be waking me up at 3 a.m. to go be the first run, right? Like it is, it is a very strong difference. It is, we are not a victim. Life is not happening to us, it's happening for us. And it is absolutely a life changing perspective to gain when you understand how to utilize it instead of having it pull you down.
Yeah. And that's the trick right there though, right, Austin, is how
Yeah.
to utilize it. Because again, our brain has been filled with so many different stories. And when you start recognizing those stories, that's when I feel the shift starts happening. When you can actually recognize those stories and start questioning those and go, okay, where is this coming from? Why am I thinking this? And
Yeah.
what's happened in my past that's causing me to do this? Because our brain's protecting us, right? It's going, hey, this is what we have to think to survive. And
That's
and
right.
really it's not. All we got to do is just change the story. And we have
Right.
the capability of changing the story. And I feel that probably 98%, and correct me if I'm wrong, of us out here don't realize that because this is something new that has just really starting to gain momentum and it's starting to get out there. Some people have recognized it for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Definitely.
really been pushing it, right? And it's people are actually starting to grab a hold of it now
Yeah.
and start realizing we can change in any direction we want to change. Because go back to think about when we were kids, right? If we was a kid and somebody did something to us, or I mean, gosh, we don't even give a crap about our friend's religion, what color skin they have, how they speak, where they come from. We could give a shit less.
Yeah.
Then we get older and all of a sudden all this stuff means something, but again, they
Mm-hmm.
have more of that free state of mind, right? They just want to have fun. They don't care about
Totally.
anything but just going out there and having fun. And when we can start retraining our brain to start looking at life that way as well.
Yeah,
Because I love what you said, that life isn't happening to us, it's happening for us.
that's right. Yeah.
I lost that 3 weeks ago because that's my mentality. And I lost it. I shoved it in a freaking closet and forgot it was even there. And it's taken me some time to work through it, to open that closet and get that back out again, going, man, I just got to go with what life's given me today, because I have actually taken away joy and freedom,
Hmm.
free state of mind of my life, because I'm stuck in here playing replays
Oh
over
yeah.
and over and over again.
So this will tie in perfectly, and it's a concept that plays out in almost everyone. Like, so let's try to help some people have an experience here as they're listening, because yes, they've probably heard that the hope out there exists, and they haven't really been able to apply it personally, right? So one of the patterns that is really strong that we've learned as a child, it will tie in perfectly to what you're saying, Al. When we are hard on ourselves, when we beat ourselves up, what is it we gain from that experience, right? Like, with a lot of people I've worked with, they go in and they say, well, yeah, it helps me understand where I'm at, so then I know where to go. So in an easy way to sense that, it's, I mean, well, you're gaining motivation by beating yourself up. So when we start whipping ourselves psychologically into moving faster, it is a motivation that creates a habit of disvaluing ourselves, of bringing our self-worth down. And we hold on to that at a subconscious level, right? 95% of our brain is subconscious. We hold on to that because our brain thinks that if we let go of beating ourselves up and not thinking we've arrived, and we're not good enough, then it's going to motivate us to become the person we want to be. It's going to shift us and help us have that transformation. That's the belief we have. And it is absolutely contradicting itself. It is the self sabotage 101. If we are like, you cannot beat your Henry Amar, he's amazing. I love this guy. Look him up. He's incredible. So I will give him credit to this. He said to my wife and I one time, he goes, "You cannot beat yourself up into loving yourself." And we are doing that over and over. We keep beating ourselves up into thinking that it's going to help us progress into that next level. That, yeah, what he says is new level, new devil. Every time you reach a new level in life, you have a new devil show up. I like it with new mile, new trial, because we reach that milestone and then we have a new trial. Uh, it is powerful. Like, this concept. So for anybody listening, I want you to try to think about what really motivates you. What, like, why do you value putting yourself down, and how might you shift it? And that question that you're talking about, Al, how you question it, why am I doing this? The question itself is where the power is at. We have been programmed into thinking that the power comes when the answer shows up. That is bogus. It is not true. Your brain, what is happening when it is curious and in that discovery mindset, the neurons, the interneural connections, that axon and that dendrite, they are disconnecting, and it's searching for the next neuron to connect to and have that synapse release that neurochemical. So then your emotion, behavior, thoughts all coordinates and is congruent with subconscious, conscious, and you get into that flow state. It is the questioning, it is the challenging of a belief system. When you are in that playground, when you're in that sandbox, that is where the gold is at. You want to challenge these things, and who cares about the answer? The answer is going to come. Just really focus on why it's important to challenge a belief that has not been serving you. And this is one of those beliefs that we just talked about. That is a belief that has shown up in just about everybody I have worked with, including myself, right? It's a projection of self too. So yeah, I want all of our listeners to really understand the power that can come with understanding how we are getting the motivators hit on in order to achieve what it is we're looking for. Because yes, if it is not beating ourselves up, there is another pattern that is very similar to that, maybe a sibling, and that is a really big issue with suicide. It is.
Yeah, and I love that you put it that way, because when we're asking for those answers, the answers we're getting are actually just creating more questions for us, I feel, in the wrong way, right?
A domino.
Because they're not the right answer. They're not the right answer. Again, our brain is just protecting us and going, okay, well, this has happened before. This is what you need to do. Okay, this has happened, so this is what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what I'm hearing, what you're saying to our listeners, is challenge your thoughts, challenge them, ask them the questions, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, the word belief comes up a lot, and I've said this in many of my other shows. I'm doing my best to get that word out of my vocabulary, belief. And the reason why is because somebody got me thinking a couple of years ago. Um, the word lie is in the word belief.
Whoa.
And I went, oh my gosh, wow, that's amazing, because really, just because I believe something and you don't believe what I believe, what makes me right?
Yeah.
And just because your belief is a certain way, what makes you right? Right? It's just kind of how where we've grown up, what we've been around, you know, what we've been taught by our parents. Not saying our parents have done anything wrong, because they're just doing what we're all doing, right? They're following that same
Yeah.
path. Yeah. So
Yeah.
challenge your thoughts, because again, to go back on my trip to Idaho, I was doing that so much. I was
Yeah.
challenging my thoughts constantly, you know, and
Uh-huh.
then I'd give myself a break, right? I'd have to give myself a break,
Yep.
because
Yep.
then my old maps and my old stories started coming back into play. So I'd
Yeah.
turn on the radio and start singing or doing different things to
Yep. Change your
not let those thoughts
physiology.
take over, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a powerful experience. Yeah. I call them a neuroneutralizer because if you start understanding like this brain fatigue that shows up, there's an area in your brain, it's the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. Dr. Huberman, the neuroscientist of neuroscientists, he dives into it, and your brain only has a certain amount of decisions to make each day until it reaches its quote unquote capacity. Now you can change that capacity and you can train your AMCC, and it's really powerful and that's really awesome. Like there's great strategies to do that. No matter what though, there is a level on that you reach where all of a sudden you've reached your capacity of decisions in that day. So being able to get your mind into changing your physiology and listening to that music on that road trip in between these brain boggling moments where there's friction between your ears, and like yes, that it is a very scientific way to be able to take some pressure off that nerve. It's yeah. The other area of the brain that is massively important for our viewers to hear is, and I'm sure you remember hearing about this within the program here. It's the reticular activating system, the RAS,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
understanding what the RAS is and the science behind what we call manifestation. It is powerful because it helps us once again put a language to understand it. So then our core our core is absolutely congruent with it. It is a little bundle of neurons, uh man, what is it, like the size of a walnut or an almond, I forget, but it's right above, like right on the tip of your brainstem, and everything that goes through it also returns back through it, and it gets filtered through that. You can call it the bouncer at a club, you can call it your receptionist that it helps get the exact information to your conscious mind. It allows you to be able to know what you are actually like. You can program your conscious mind, and you bring up some of your subconscious thoughts and become very aware of them, and then you program them consciously, right? It's actually impossible to program your subconscious all the way. You want to kind of trinkle in parts and pieces into your conscious, and that's where you can work on them. So your RAS, that's the secret sauce to be able to do that. And we've all programmed our RAS. This isn't anything groundbreaking. Like seriously, we have all done this. Like uh I mean, I remember when the Cybertruck came out, I was like, oh, the first Cybertruck, I was like, that's amazing. And then all of a sudden, I'm thinking like, whoa, I'm noticing the Cybertruck over and over and over and over and over. And I'm like, did all of the Cybertrucks just come out all at one time? Well, technically they did, but this is a little later. I'm realizing that I just programmed my RAS to really understand like, whoa, okay, that is like a Minecraft car. This looks kind of weird, or Subarus. This happens to Subarus, or I mean, Lamborghinis. Like we think Lamborghinis, our RAS is programmed to understand Lamborghinis. That is a really cool car. So when we see it, it is whoa! I saw a Lamborghini today, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Our RAS is programming all the time. These are superficial ways to do it, but it's also being programmed into understanding our self worth. It is an identity level, and every single time we beat ourselves up to have self love, we are programming that RAS to be able to think that we really are no more valuable than the dirt we're standing on.
Yeah. And isn't, gosh, I don't know if I want to put it this way, but how really it's sad, right? That we do that because as human beings, we're really good at helping other people realize, tell them how great you are or how
Yeah.
great they are, right? Oh my gosh, why are you thinking this? Oh, you're so amazing and you're this and that and this and that. And then when we sit with ourselves, we do the total opposite.
Uh-huh.
Total opposite.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what was that saying again from you cannot beat yourself up to love yourself? Is that how it was put?
Yeah. You can't beat yourself up to love yourself.
To love
Exactly.
yourself. Okay. Yeah, I love when you said that. I was like, oh, I got to write that one down. That
Yeah, it's powerful. So I mean, Al, the next question that comes up typically is, okay, how do I know when I've done it, right? Like we're so programmed into thinking destination, destination, when there's no such thing for starters, right? It's always a journey because your destination will forever move. I call it the moving finish line. It is just constantly it's a dynamic finish line. When you get there, you don't realize that you ran through it because you that pattern you took with you. You didn't change the pattern. So you get to the quote unquote finish line, but the pattern's still there. So your pattern shows up and says, okay, this it justifies its way out of the finish line. And it's like, hey, there's the next finish line and there's the next. So you're constantly just chronically hurting as you cross through these finish lines without seeing, the glory in it, right? So this idea of a destination, it's totally I love the word bogus. I just keep using the word bogus
yeah.
today. It's kind of a weird one, but um here's the gold is the transformation happens. I guess it doesn't happen. You notice the transformation when what used to trigger you excites you. And how could that be true? Well, some people might think, how could I be excited to walk into a bar and be pulled left and right with all my temptations? How could I be how could I be excited if I'm a sex addict and I see a prostitute on the corner? How could I be excited if I realize that I don't have self-worth and I really don't value where I'm at in life? Well, it's possible. And it was actually about a week ago, my grandpa passed away. And this was 2 years after Devin's passing. And what happened for me, yes, I processed the emotion. It was sad, right? You know, but then I got excited. Why the heck would I get excited if somebody I love dies? Well, it's because I understand the value behind it. I have transformed my patterns into understanding, like when I went in and I saw his body and I held his hand, I flashed back to when I dressed Devin after he passed. And all of those emotions, I had so much anchoring emotion to the things that I wanted to change in my life that when high emotion comes in that form, I know what I'm going to do with it. So it was subconscious. It was so subconscious that I didn't realize that I was actually excited until I started realizing that I was asking other people questions. Like we keep talking about questions. I was asking them questions to help them be able to process it. It was actually Lamont's father. um,
Yeah,
Grandpa
just a couple weeks
Wilcox,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was cool because the very first question, I looked back, Lamont's processing, and I go, Lamont, what is the number one thing you want to change in your life right now? Because it is a complete opportunity. It is absolutely an opportunity right now that you can just do that like that so fast. Because as you're aware, Al, as you've gone through the concepts, there's three neurosolidifiers. And a neurosolidifier, what that means is it's the neuroplasticity that happens. It's the things that bring neuroplasticity, the things that change your thoughts, behaviors, and emotions, all that wiring that exists. Neuroplasticity is shifting all that, right? So the three neurosolidifiers to be able to bring neuroplasticity is exactly what we're talking about: high emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It is repetition. Okay. That's where fake it till you make it comes in, even though I don't believe in phrasing it that way. Right. And then the other one is a trusted source. So if a doctor says this or that, then you're going to believe it and you think that's a diagnosis. If your parent says, hey, you've always been this way, or sit down, be quiet, like why are you always so crazy, why can't you be like your sister or your brother, like these things, like these have all programmed our brain, the three things: high emotion, repetition, and a trusted source. When we can understand that those are the three neurosolidifiers to bring neuroplasticity, to bring transformation, then what happens when high emotion shows up? Well,
Mm.
what might have been a traumatic experience now has the opportunity to be a transformative experience. You just busted out of your cocoon and your wings are spreading, man. Like that is a different experience. So I understood the language behind the way my brain functions. And I had that high emotion and I leveraged it. So anytime that high emotion shows up, I just start like, I'm going to exaggerate. I salivate. I'm like, yes, what can I do here? Like,
Yeah.
do I want my diet to be even cleaner? Do I want to stop worrying about what other people are thinking of me? Do I want to manage my time more effectively and stop being a yes man and do things that actually, excite me? Like, what is it that I'm wanting? Like, those are my personal ones right now that I'm still working through. But that opportunity when it shows up, because our little girl, she's going to be coming in less than a month, my very first newborn. And I understand once again the language of my brain out. So when I'm holding my little girl, I'm going to look at her in the eyes and it's going to be really cool.
Yes.
So I am so excited because I have I have packed away the top priorities on the things I'm going to make a change, and it's going to happen right then, right then.
Yeah. And again, like you said, we can change it anytime.
Anytime.
And when you first brought that up, my brain went back to about probably 10 years ago in this past 16, almost 17 years of my new journey. And I was invited to this class. And in this class, it was talking about learning about self-love, understanding a little bit how quickly we can change our thoughts. And the teacher of this class did something that really opened my eyes that night. There was probably 30 of us in this class, and she had us all get our chairs and move all our chairs in a big, huge circle. And she dimmed the lights down. And then she asked us all to stand up and draw an imaginary circle in front of us. And she goes, I'm going to do a count of three. And when I say three, I want you to step inside that imaginary circle. And I want you to think of something that makes you very, very angry, just really ticks you off. And then when I say step out of your circle, I want you to step out of the circle and I'm going to say open your eyes and I want you to look around the room. So we did it, right? One, two, three. We stepped in a circle. I don't remember what I was thinking, but I remember I was clenching my fists. I remember gritting my teeth a couple times. I was feeling so much anger. Stepped out, opened our eyes, looked around the room, and I could see people doing the same thing that I was doing. Some were doing other things, right? Some were hitting the side of their leg, and I thought, wow. She goes, okay, now we're going to do this again. But this time, I want you to think when you step into that circle and close your eyes, something that makes you happy. What brings joy to your life? What makes you feel just alive? We went
Yeah.
through that whole process again. And I remember I had tears coming down my face because
Totally.
I had just started having grandkids, right? And the feeling of being around my grandkids, just like the feeling I got the first time my first daughter was born, right? The same feeling that you were getting. You got
Yeah.
emotional, how much it, and it's good emotions, right? It feels so good. And I stepped out, and when we all opened our eyes, I looked around and you saw everybody that was so angry before have big smiles on their face, and other people had tears coming down. And,
Yeah.
but everyone was smiling. And she goes, "That's how fast you can change your thoughts." And
Yeah.
oh my freaking hell. How easy was
Yeah.
that? Why do you
Yeah.
think it's so difficult? Right. And I just found it. However, sometimes I remember it when I'm going through my stuff, and other times I don't because I get stuck. It's like that record, the vinyl record that has the scratch. It just sits there and skips and just keeps going
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
saying the same things over and over. And again, going back to how our subconscious is there to protect us but harms us, I was even saying, because of my old patterns, stop thinking that. Why the hell are you thinking that? Come on, stop it. Well,
Yeah.
crap, all it did was make it worse. I just started
Yeah.
thinking it more. And I'm like, I've just repeated everything like 100 freaking times in the past 5 minutes, and I'm not getting anywhere. And then finally, all of a sudden,
Exactly.
oh, wait a minute, my training. I got to ask its question. I got to ask questions, not tell it to stop. I got to start going, why is this coming? So it it doesn't, I mean, it may sound hard, but it's really not, right? It's just
Mhm.
we've just been programmed, like you said, for so long. And use even the death, right? It's all there to teach us something.
Yeah.
It just depends, something came into my mind when you shared that, Austin, is I have a friend who lost a 5-year-old son. And I just couldn't imagine how hard that was. I mean, she was a guest on my show years ago, probably like 4 years ago, and just just seeing her emotions and the pain in this woman's face of just losing her 5-year-old son, and it was a drowning accident, and it happened while they were at one of the wave pools. It's like
Yeah.
it's right by my side, and I just literally, it was like 60 seconds later, he's gone. And then all of a sudden, someone started screaming, and here's my son who drowned. And
That's
I
crazy.
had people telling me I was a bad mom, and people were thrashing on me, and she fell into drinking, and and all that. And she had that aha moment, and she woke up one day and she said, "My gosh, I'm not doing my son justice. I need to be celebrating the 5 years I had with this incredible little boy instead of wallowing around in my sorrow and feeling sorry for myself and beating myself up," which is what we've talked about. And
Totally.
she ended up writing a freaking book about it. And
Yeah.
and her whole life started changing, to where instead of going back on that, it's celebrating it, and I'm going through that right now with myself with the passing of my wife. You know,
Yeah.
some of the old thoughts of the bad things that happened during the addiction part of things, and a lot of the stuff I did that I'm regretting, right?
Yeah.
However, I'm understanding too, I did what I needed to do to survive for me, what I thought was right. However, I have to catch myself and go, no, 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 I don't want to think these thoughts. I want to think of the thoughts of the great times that we had. I mean, because
Mhm.
we had a lot of good times. And it's reprogramming, right? It's that retelling
Yeah.
the new story of going, let's not think of this, let's think of this, because this is a lot better than going back to
Yeah.
that, right? Because I cannot change any of that other stuff.
That's right.
However, I would really want to can hopefully the rest of my life remember all the amazing times that we've had, you know, and
Yeah.
and it takes time. You can't beat yourself up because it takes time to shift these programs. So it's
Yeah.
definitely possible.
Totally. And it takes time because time time is typically associated with experiences. Really, like to make it more accurate with that is it takes experiences. And
Mm.
time typically brings that, right? So the experiences that we go through will shift our mindset. So if we can just have more of those experiences, then we don't need as much time. Or you could just use time and, just kind of, lollygag around through it. It will make a shift, right? Not that we're lollygagging, we're all trying. But so there's two things that I really want to hit on. Okay. And one is we talked about questions, and it's the type of questions, though, right? And then two is why do we stay stuck? Like what is really happening? So to answer the questions real quick, it will tie into the next, which is pretty awesome. So when we ask ourselves questions to be able to help us get into that free state, that thriving state of mind, the questions we ask ourselves sometimes are questions that will put us back into a confined state. So it's not as simple as just asking a question. It's being very accurate and having effective questions here. Because like the questions of why do I keep doing that sometimes can be associated with beating ourselves up, right? So we're asking our questions to then beat ourselves up. The other one is, I mean, there's a lot of examples. I could really go just super long on this, but the idea is, what is it that you want in life? So you would want to ask questions of like, hey, what would my future self do? Or what would the person who I'm striving to be, what would that person decide? Or hey, how would this decision affect my life in 5 years? And so on. Like asking questions that really help you move towards who you're trying to become
Mm,
instead of putting you into this confinement, right? Because to answer the next part here about why we stay stuck, why our brain will just naturally do that is because it's getting a neurochemical reward met. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, epinephrine, GABA, like there are a ton. Tony Robbins talks about the 6 psychological human needs. I added one, right? Because I was like, hey, vitality is really important. I talk about the 7 essential motivators. And so it's really the same language, but the idea behind it is every single thing, every need that we have in our life, every motivator that shows up to be able to help us progress, it has those neurochemical rewards attached to them, right? And hope, I mean, that is a really powerful one. That like you look at hope on a brain scan when it's active and it is firing in so many areas. It secretes so many different chemicals. It is just a beautiful, beautiful neurochemical mix up. When you think of somebody that might be going through some depressed patterns, notice I didn't say somebody who is depressed, right? It's somebody
yeah.
who has depressed patterns, right? It's very different. Those depressed patterns, we have identified those as, well, yeah, we have a lack of love. We're not really experiencing connection and all these things, right? But if you look at it on a brain scan and what's happening neurologically, even depression and love, they look pretty similar in some ways because it's just our way of getting that oxytocin met. We have found a way to connect in a way that doesn't serve us. And this goes hand in hand with grief. Our brain, all it's doing is it's trying to get a neurochemical reward met, and it could either do it in a aligned way or in a misaligned way, right? So when we have grief show up, a lot of times that's oxytocin because it's love and connection. There's a deficit there, so you want to fill it and replace it with something else, or navigate a different way. And I realized it was really powerful when Devin passed away. I realized what I was searching for because I understood the language of my brain. And I said, whoa, I'm feeling pretty depressed right now. Like, where's Devin? I can't talk to him. I can't this. And then I started talking to Devin and I started understanding that connection is always from within, anyways. Love, it's not an exchange. You don't receive love. Love is already in you and it's up to you. So people have expressed love to me and I haven't received it because it wasn't how I receive it. So it's still up to me. It still goes through my empowerment filter, right? Same with trust. These things that it's not an exchange, it's always within. So when I understood that, then I started realizing, whoa, I can still have love come from this the idea of Devin, but it's from within, and I get to have this immense joy. Or if I realize that I have a deficit in love and connection, instead of searching for Devin who isn't physically there, I could, steer my desires to Mikkel, my wife, and say, hey, give me a hug. I don't even need to tell her what I'm going through because I just understand that if I just have some connection with her, then I could get that neurochemical reward met. It is an amazing shift to understand it this way because it always gives you hope. Hope will always show up. You never feel stuck, right? When you understand that your brain is just doing this pattern because it is going to get a neurochemical reward met,
Yeah.
and it's not this broken, like you're not just a broken person. You're not like you are an addict for that neurochemical, but how you get that neurochemical, it's up to you. It is totally up to you. And that is the empowerment that comes in. And you can program that through those three neurosolidifiers on how to get that neurochemical reward met in a way that serves you. And that is why we stay stuck because our brain doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know the other one. So when people stop cold turkey on doing whatever addiction that they are, whatever it is that's in their life, their brain, it's not addicted to the alcohol, the sex, the cigarettes, vaping. It's not addicted to any of those. It is addicted to the chemicals that are secreting from that experience. So if you don't know, like if you don't become clear enough on that other avenue in a way that will bring you towards who it is you're becoming, then your brain, it will relapse because your brain doesn't know any better. It's really clear and it knows that it's going to get those chemical rewards met. And if it doesn't, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how
So
it makes you feel too. Yeah.
yeah, it totally does, man. It
Yeah.
totally does. So yes, foundational. Apply this deeply. This is not a small concept. This is a life-changing understanding. We justify our way out of celebrating. And if we can see every small thing as a breakthrough, I call it the Christmas light. If you can see maybe just a little Christmas light turning into this massive spotlight, like, and you see the small wins as life-changing alterations, then they will be, and
Yes.
they will make a life difference. When you move the telescope and you're looking in space and you move it just a millimeter, what are you looking at? Something completely different. And that's how our life is. Every small little drop has a ripple over time. And that's the power behind all this, Al. That is the passion that I have, that even if I can influence people to be able to understand that they do just have an inkling of hope, that's actually a massive win. And it is not small. And people, if they can understand that they are just naturally justifying their way out of it, then they can understand, whoa, my brain is so addicted to being stuck. And they can do their neural neutralizers and pattern breakers to break that and understand it. And through enough repetition or high emotion or a trusted source saying something, that can rewire. So yeah, I mean, I'm on a soapbox. What do you got
Oh,
to
it's
say?
it's it's great stuff. I love how you're putting that because I had completely forgot about that. So I'm glad you brought it up because we're
Totally.
all addicted to our thoughts and we don't realize that we are. I mean, seriously, we're not because those dopamine hits and all this other stuff, all these chemicals that are going through us. I mean, those 3 weeks of mine, I mean, my gosh, I had freaking 15 IV bags of that stuff hooked up to me.
Yeah,
That's
you
why I
did.
kept repeating it. That's why it kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And it took me that time of battling it to go, okay, wait a minute, come on. I know how to get myself out of this. But I was in it so freaking deep.
Yeah.
And just to let listeners know too, with what Austin's talking about, don't beat yourself up. He said something very, very key just a little bit ago, and he talked about celebrating. It doesn't matter how tiny of it is, celebrate it. Because the more that we celebrate it, the bigger it starts getting. And my facilitator who I work with has been telling me that, right? When I was telling her my breakthroughs of this past couple weeks, She's like, hey, did you celebrate it? And I'm like, gosh, no, I forgot. I got to celebrate it, right? So she's like, I'll celebrate for you. And she's celebrating with me, and so that got me all excited. But when we start changing our chemicals by changing our thoughts in a more positive way, we still get that same feeling, but it's just in a better direction than the direction
Yeah.
that we're going, right? It's still that same thing, and again, that's something we're not taught. This is why I have said for years, we need to change our schools. This stuff
Yes.
needs to be taught. This stuff, because I feel it would help so many of us. Because I mean, yes, we need to learn math and English and learn how to read and spell and all that stuff. However, nothing teaches us about life until we get out in life. And sometimes people have life hit them extremely hard at such a young age, or has already hit them hard and they don't know which direction to go. If we
Yeah.
can teach this stuff in school at an early age, kids are so much smarter nowadays. I mean, I look at my grandkids, they're 14, 11, and 9. And I'm like, my gosh, I was in eighth grade before I had that kind of intelligence. They're already there, and they've
Yeah.
been there for so long. And it's like they would get it, they would understand it. And that's our shift, that's our change, that's our world shifting in a whole different direction to where
Absolutely.
all of us would learn how to handle things a little bit differently. And, does it take time? Yeah, absolutely. It takes
Yeah.
time. I mean, it took time to get us to where we're at in our age, right? It's taken me 60 something years to understand a lot of stuff that's happened in my life. And I
Yeah.
like what Steve Jobs says, connect the dots backwards and you'll see you're exactly where you're supposed to be this very moment. And I've done
Oh,
that.
totally.
And I am exactly where I'm supposed to be this very moment. I had to travel that journey to get myself there. However, I could have made my journey a little easier, probably in a lot of different areas, if I just would have understood what we've been talking about in this show. It would have
Yeah.
helped me with a lot of people who I have lost in my life. I was very fortunate to have three of my grandparents up until I was like in my mid 40s, almost 50. So I
Wow.
got to have grandparents almost half my life. And
Wow.
I miss them dearly every single day. I mean, I have pictures up, and I look at them and I talk to them all the time and tell them how much I miss them. And, I got pictures of my past wife, and same thing. And just what you've shared about with losing your brother and Lamont losing his father just a couple of weeks ago. When we're
Yeah.
able to look at things and shift our thoughts in a little different areas, it
Yeah.
it does help our journey a little bit better. It definitely helps
Yeah.
instead of taking us down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To trim the fat off and just get the lean meat real quick.
Okay.
Very simply, the issue, it is not your circumstances, it is your perception. And if we can understand it, ooh, man, what a joy we start really engaging. Man, like it is it it brings it sometimes that can bring some fear into people's lives, is understanding that, oh, it's me, I can do it, someone's not going to do it for me. Yeah, well, that's just a pattern. It's okay, you got this.
Yeah.
It is within, it totally is.
I love that. I was going to ask you if you've got, because we just went over a little bit over an hour, which is no problem at all. I was going to say, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners? And that was big right there. That was huge with what you just shared. Do you have something that you can spin off of that?
Of course. I
Okay,
am. Yeah, I want to just keep going for another hour. Have me on again, okay? Because
let's
part
do it.
two.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
please. Yeah. Um, yes, your circumstances are not the issue. If if we continually think that this person changing is going to make me feel better, that is a limiting loop that shows up in our life. If we keep thinking that if I just get that job, I will feel better. If I have this car, if my wife or husband treats me this way, if those that might be struggling with fertility, if I could finally just have a child, like those destination based limitations, those are limiting loops. And it is a self sabotage, it is a lie. The fastest way to change your world is to change yourself, because your world is you. It is not anything else external. There are 80 billion different realities on the same planet you're on, and you are one of them. Yes, there are some similarities. There are other people that are going through struggles, but nobody is going through your unique struggle. So the big finale, the big takeaway that I want people to understand, Al, is this: nobody knows you better than you know you. There is nobody better to help you than yourself. It could be the most knowledgeable neuroscientist, psychologist, doctor. It doesn't matter who they are. They could have studied your brain scans for 8 years, a decade. They still will not know you better than you know you. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what state of mind you're in, because you are understanding what is happening at that moment. If we think that, if we really believe that, then we will stop trying to find external answers, which means we will stop chasing the symptoms. Look inward. Try to find the language that resonates with your conscious and subconscious mind. And your neurons, they exist. Like, yes, your heart, I keep touching the heart. There's neurons in your heart. There's neurons in your gut. Okay? Like, focus on your central nervous system. Some people will call it the light of Christ. I love that personally. But if you don't believe in God, call it something else. Call it your central nervous system. Call it, it doesn't matter. It's your internal guidance system. It's our intuition.
Hmm.
That is our number one trusted source. It truly is. And when we make decisions, our entire past, it doesn't matter when it was, we are always just trying what we think is best for us in the moment. And it's not until hindsight that it's 2020, right? So if we keep thinking in regret and thinking of the past of, oh man, this, oh man, that, no, get rid of that. Because in the past, you were trying your best. We are trying our best right now. So why would we be doing any different then? So understand that back then you were trying your best. And in the future, you're going to be trying your best. And it won't be until later that you might see that it could have been better, but that doesn't mean that you weren't trying your best back then.
And it
So
doesn't mean you
understand
haven't
that.
gotten better either, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So have some self-compassion. Understand that you're trying and celebrate the fact that you're trying. Don't wait until a landmark to celebrate. Celebrate the effort, because that is it. It's your effort level. If you are having high amounts of effort, then yes, you will
Yeah,
have transformation. It will come.
I love it. Great ending thoughts. It's when you were sharing that last little bit right there, it reminds me of back when I was stuck in my codependency, right? Because I felt like if I could do everything I could to help my past wife with her addiction and help get her better, or be there for her and all that stuff, that my life would be so much better.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to realize I couldn't make her life any better until I made mine better. No way. And it's just like
Completely.
love, right? I cannot emit, I cannot give the love I want to give others unless I have that love for myself.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and it's all internal. Everything, all of it is all so internal with this. It's amazing, and it's so fun to learn all this stuff. It's a journey.
Yeah.
I was telling my facilitator here before we end this, I'm like, gosh, I was going through all these modules and that, and I don't feel like my brain's capturing it, and I have to learn a different way. I have to learn by doing, right? And
Hmm.
and so I wrote down everything. I mean, I got two notebooks this size, one of them completely full, the other one about a quarter of full, because I wrote everything. Every little paragraph that was under each module, I wrote everything down by hand, because
Yes.
that helps me remember things a lot easier. And it's so funny because when I'm having a session with my facilitator and we're talking, all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, I didn't think I remembered that. I did.
Yeah,
Well, I am gathering this information, are you right? So our brain is storing it. We
it
just
is.
think it is, but it is storing it. And it's crazy.
Yeah,
And I go back and listen to some of my shows and I go, holy shit, I was intelligent. Where the hell did that
yeah,
come from, right? Because I don't
that's
even
right. The
remember
S on
saying
your chest, it's showing
that.
up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, my gosh, Austin, yes, I'm gonna have you come back. We'll get something planned again here for the near future too, because I could talk to you here for probably at least another hour, if not longer, on this stuff because I really love getting in conversations like this. And listeners, I hope what Austin has shared with you guys today has just been really valuable. And Austin, how do people find you? If they've got some questions that they would like to do a one-on-one with you, how
Yeah,
do they locate you? How do they find you?
absolutely. Yeah. Um, I'll give them my personal number. That's going to be the best way to contact me.
Okay.
And if they want to go through what I call the dependency detox, then I'm excited to help them to engage in that. I want to be involved in their journey. Once again, though, the secret is yes, people can go through this dependency detox and contact me and have this experience. But be aware, anybody that does that, I'm just going to be helping you understand you, and you're going to be the one going through the process and doing the work because that is the only way neuroplasticity happens. Nobody can do it for you. It's always from within. And that sometimes when I've had experiences with individuals, they're expecting others to do it. It's the lottery ticket mentality. Well, let me just, make it clear that doesn't exist and it's not going to be the fast track. So, yes, join the dependency detox. Like, let's dive into this. And my personal number will be there. My email will be there. Yeah, I have concepts to help you go through. And after you go through these prerequisite concepts, then I can help one on one and help you experience in group settings, families. I love doing, with helping with families, understanding the dynamics and stuff. Couples, like individuals, like, yes, bring it on. This is my passion. I'm doing this full time. Once Devin passed away, there wasn't a single question on what my career was going to be. This is my passion. I will be doing this for my entire life. And it's not because of the money. That is absolutely not. It is because it's not work. It really isn't.
This is your
And I'm
life.
not going to work a day in my life. Yeah, you know the phrase. So, yes, bring it on. I'd be happy to talk to you. And if you have more questions, just reach out.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll have that information, your email and number on the show
Yeah.
notes. All that will be there. Austin, again, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And we'll chat again here and we'll get you scheduled to be on the show again. So again, I just want to say thank you to our sponsors again, Emergo Academy. Guys, thank you so much for your love and believing in what we do here on the other side of addiction podcast. I want to say thank you to all our past guests and our future guests that are coming on. We've got some really good guests that will be coming on here. And most and foremost, everybody, I'd like to say thank you to our listeners. Guys, you guys are the ones that's keeping this show going. Thank you so much. I mean, March will be 5 years, and I'm just still in shock that it's been going almost 5 years, and I still want to do it. I haven't gotten burned out yet, and I don't feel like I've gotten burned out yet. And the reason why is because of other people's voices. They're so important and they need to be heard. Stories need to be told. People's experiences need to be shared because we all need the help in one way or another because we cannot do it alone. So thank you again, everybody. We greatly appreciate it. And we're going to leave you with this as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.